Odds On, seemingly a game where fortune favours the bold, or perhaps just the foolish, a rollercoaster of emotions, a heart rate raiser, a game of legends, where friends become opponents and simply by saying the same number, you can become a hero. I mean, we all have those stories of great elation after one of our friends has lost a 1 in 50. Or perhaps quite the opposite, if we're the unfortunate soul on the other side, that our heart drops when we utter the same number as our challenger. But isn't it crazy how our hopes in the outcome shift and change so quickly as soon as the roles are reversed? In a matter of moments, we go from trying to read our friends desperately so that we can say the same number as them and get them to do whatever unfortunate task we presented them with, to putting all our hopes and effort to try and throw them off, hoping for any number but theirs, any number but theirs. Well, friends, I want to play a game of Odds On with you right here, right now. And all you've got to do is guess your number in the chat. But we're not going to mess around with any of this 1 in 50 nonsense. No. We're going 1 in 5. A pretty good chance you're going to win this, I reckon. But Matt, what's at stake? What's the challenge, I hear you ask? Well, friends, as we all know, times are tough in lockdown. And above anything, I am really missing people. But there's one person in particular that I'm missing more than most. And that's my barber. As you may have noticed, I'm wearing this hat for a reason, because I am well and truly in need of a trim. But those of you who remember Movement Online from lockdown round 1 will remember that I would not let anyone near my hair. So I propose this to you. If I lose the game of Odds On, I will let my housemates cut my hair however they choose to. Eliza, who's 5, and Josiah, who's 2. And in return, if you get it wrong, I simply ask that you send this talk to a friend who needs hope right now. So you're ready to put your numbers in the chat. Or if you're watching on catch up, you can simply shout this out loud. But here we go. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, 2. Now, of course, I have absolutely no idea whether I just won that. But given the amount of people watching, which will include the family that I live with, I'm pretty sure at least one person will have said 2. So as a man of my word, I'll let the kids cut my hair. In fact, here's a little teaser of what that looks like.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good.
And we'll play the rest of that footage at the end of tonight's live stream. But for now, I want to talk to you about hope. In fact, over the next few weeks here at Movement Online, we're going to be exploring this theme of hope. And I'm excited to say we've got some great friends who are equally great communicators to help guide us on this journey. After all, what more does the world need right now? And actually, that's the name and title of my talk, Hope Here and Now. So if you're taking notes, why don't you jot that down? But friends, the difficult thing when it comes to talking about hope is that everyone puts their hope in different things. And that actually begins to make a lot of sense when we begin to realize that each of us individually have our own different invested interest. Let me explain. You see, little under 3 weeks ago, we strapped ourselves in, ready for another briefing from Boris. Cases were on the rise, something had to change, a decision had to be made. But it was always going to be the case that that decision would affect people in different ways, based upon their individual invested interest. For example, working parents may have wanted their kids to go back to school because it made life a lot easier for them. However, teachers may have wanted schools to close so that they weren't as at risk. NHS staff may have wanted a full closure that we've got, while small business owners may have wanted things to remain as normal. Those with physical health conditions may have wanted a full closure, whereas those with mental health conditions may have wanted to be out of isolation. All of these hopes were based upon individual invested interest. So my question to you is, what have you invested your interest in? What's most important to you? And therefore, what are you putting your hope in? Now, don't worry, I'm not calling anyone out for being selfish. In fact, it's an incredibly human thing to prioritize the things we're invested in. Be it our relationships, our finances, the great pottery throwdown, or as of 3 minutes ago, what my haircut might look like. And actually, that's where the analogy of odds on really comes into play. Because in the same way that our hopes in the game of odds on change so quickly, after all, I'm pretty sure none of you cared about my hair before then. Well, so too our hopes in all these worldly things, because they change. How many of us can look back as little as a year ago and see how a friendship is no longer the same? Perhaps you fell out, or perhaps you just lost touch. How many of us can say that we spent money on something that we convinced ourselves we needed, only for us not to use it anymore, not to wear it, or for us to have been replaced by whatever was next? Friends, I'd love to read to you 2 quick stories that Jesus pretty much told back to back in Matthew's Gospel. So why don't you turn to Matthew 6 and we'll start off at verse 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Or as I'm putting it to you, where your invested interest is, there your hopes will be in also. Jump into Matthew 7, starting at verse 24, we read this. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against it, that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Now, I don't know about you, but I only became a Christian a couple of years ago, so I never heard this story in Sunday school. But the more I read it, the more I realize it really is as simple as it sounds. If we give our lives to Jesus, if we build our foundations upon him, when the storms of life hit us, when the rain comes down, the streams rise, and the wind blows and beats against us, we will not fall, because he is our rock. So what does it look like to store up our treasure in heaven and build our lives upon him? Well, it looks like hope here and now. You see, all these things of the world will fade away, but God remains. I love this passage in Hebrews 10 where it really captures why we have this hope. Verse 19, therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way open for us through the curtain that is his body, and since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with the full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience and having our bodies washed with pure water. Here's the big bit. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Let me break that down real quick in a Matt Orr translation. Guys, thanks to Jesus, his life and blood poured out on the cross, we have a new way of living. We can come close to God and know him, no matter what we've done in our past. And we can know that he is faithful. So let's love and encourage one another, and let's put our hope in him, no longer swayed by our own individual invested interest. I. But instead, let's invest our time and interest in getting to know him through prayer, through reading our Bible, through worshipping the King of Kings, spending time with him in his presence. And if you're listening right now and you want to witness what hope here and now looks like, I encourage you to join me in this real simple prayer. Jesus, I choose to lay down my own individual interests. And instead I choose to put my hope in you. Help me to store up my treasures in heaven and build my life upon you, so that when trouble and trials come my way, with you I shall stand tall. I invite you to work in my heart so that you can work through my life, so that myself and others will know you are hope here and now. Amen. Amen. As promised, I'm going to let my housemates cut my hair. It's going to be, I don't know what it's going to look like. It's all a bit long and floppy right now. But first things first, I would love to introduce you to my housemates. So I'd love to introduce you to Josiah. Hello, Josiah. How old are you? 2. And I'd also love to introduce you to Eliza. Hello, Eliza. How old are you? 5. And these guys are going to help out. And one final barber to introduce you to, the supervising barber, just to make sure no ears are lost. The one and only Mr. Tim West.
There we go. It's going to be great.
Little pre-cut thoughts. Nervous, excited. It's like every haircut. You never know what you're going to come out looking like after. But we're going to trust it into their hands. Right then, guys. First task at hand, what colour are we going to pick for the trimmers?
What colour would you like, Eliza?
Oh, that one looks short.
The red one.
The red one.
That is, what number's that? That's number 1.
Good choice, Eliza.
Oh.
Well done, Eliza.
Slow and steady was nice. Well done.
Well done.
You're older.
There we go. Is it time for a different colour?
Blue one.
The blue one. Oh. Oh, here comes barber number 2.
Well done.
There we
This
go.
bit here, and then this bit here, ready? Should start a bit lower. Wow.
Oh, look at that coming
We've got a bold patch on the back.
Well done, big man. You're doing a great job. Eh?
Cut.
Oh, look. Where'd that come from?
Goodness, no, that's a third. That's not what we want.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, Christian, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I thought you would just stick the sideburn bits. Tim, you call. It's okay.
So, update so far, this is what the trim is looking like. Josiah is about to do some more by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's longer, so you can probably go right through his hair. Want to have a try?
It's looking great, Josiah.
Okay, ready? Cool.
Oh, that took a bit off.
Right. Can we finish that?
It was my finish. Well done,
Right.
team.
Well done.
You finished it. Thank you, big man. Thank you so much. So the kids have now gone to bed. However, we are left in the capable hands of the senior barber, the chief barber, and Tim's going to finish it off.
Oh goodness, we just had a massive bit come off. Just show you how we're getting on the back. Here we go, we've got a nice bit there. That's a really good bit in there. We'll just get that bit sorted there. Oh, there we go. I think that's pretty good, eh? Pretty good.
So there we go, guys. This is my new trim. I'm going to be rocking it for lockdown round 3. And just remember, where your invested interest lies, there your hopes will be. So whatever you do, don't invest your hopes in these guys as barbers, but instead put your hopes in Jesus.